Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Powerful Man Show. I am your host, Doug Holt, with my co-host, Tim, the Powerful Man Matthews. What's going down, brother?
The website?
Yeah. Guys, if you ever run anything, I don't know what's going on from a technical standpoint, but we just got messages. Our website's down. The membership site, people are having a hard time getting in there. We have tons of trainings and programs for the men that are in our high-end mastermind group, where men are investing 25 to 100K to be in. And there's just lots of trainings, and from business to fitness to relationships. And something took the site down. The homepage is up, which is weird, but a lot of the pages are down. So I'm sure they'll have that back up and running in no time. It's just right before we hit record, Tim and I got an alert about it on our phones, which is always a good thing. It's good to see that everybody's on top of what they're supposed to be on, and these things happen. So it is interesting, but not what we're here to talk about today, guys. So as the title talks about, is how to stop being your wife's bitch. Now, I know this is going to offend some people, and so let me give this kind of as the frame around this. This is the words that one of the guys that I was on the phone with had mentioned. He said, "Doug, I've become my wife's bitch." Right? So his words, not mine, but you guys get the idea of what we're going through. So let me describe what was happening for him, Tim, and then let's unpack this, because some guys might experience this as well. And, this guy wouldn't have said it openly to anybody else, probably but myself, and use those words, because no guy wants to admit that he's become subservient or has become his wife's bitch, I would imagine. So what happened, he said, "Doug, what's going on for me is what I'd find myself doing is, my wife would come home, and she, after going shopping, his wife doesn't work and he works hard, makes good money. And she would tell me to be doing stuff like, hey, I go get the stuff out of the car." And he'd go get the bags out of the car. And she said, "Yep, I need you to do the dishes, right? I need to go lay down for a little bit." And he would do the dishes. And this would repeat. And like, they're small, seemingly small tasks, but she was kind of bitchy about asking him or telling him what to do. And she didn't really ask, she just told him. And so what had happened for him, Tim, is he'd realize over time, like, wait a minute, I'm being my wife's bitch here. I'm being the bitch here. And he wasn't getting laid. Every once in a while, he got pity sex, just enough to string him along. You know what I'm saying? Went from a couple times a week to once a month. Just enough to string him along. And then, at night, they'd go out and he'd have some drinks. Right? And that resentment would build up in him. And the drinks, he'd get liquid courage, puff his chest out. She'd say something, and he'd say, "Stop talking to me that way." And they'd get in a big argument, right? Because she's the alpha. So his chest would puff up like he's squaring up with another guy. She would puff up, and it even got to the result where he pushed her a few times. And he was not, the next day, he'd be horribly, disappointed in himself. "I'm not that kind of guy. I would never physically abuse my wife," or obviously pushing. And, now she would tell people, right? "Yeah, he pushed me." Right? Not obviously leading up to this blow up. And so the cycle kept on repeating itself. Now, there were gaps in between these situations, and the gaps would get bigger, but the situation was essentially the same. Now, guys listening to this, you may not, ever pushed your wife, but have you ever felt in that situation where you've realized how deactivated you've been and you've become subservient to your wife? Because for this guy in his situation, look, his wife is getting a maid. She's getting a chef. She's getting someone to carry, an errand boy. He runs to the store whenever she needs something or what have you. She's getting all of these things. She's getting all of her bills paid, or she's going to a personal trainer. Who knows if she's doing anything on the side? And that is his worry. But his main worry is when he woke up and figured out how deactivated he was. He said, "Doug, when you mentioned deactivated," he's like, "it rung to my core. I knew right away it's exactly what was happening to me. I become deactivated. I become my wife's bitch. And I didn't realize it. And then when I would realize it, I blow up, puff out my chest, get big, stomp my feet and say, 'This is enough.' And then that blow up would turn into a huge fight and embarrassment and shame around myself and what I would do."
Mm-hmm. It's common, right? It's kind of like the nice guy trap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've certainly been there in the past. One of my strengths that can serve me well in business is I can be quite chilled with certain things. I can stay calm, and I get triggered obviously from time to time, and
Oh,
I have it within me to remain calm. But with Amelia, that then works against me because things I can let things slide because I can doesn't bother me. But that used to then mean that the boundary wasn't there. And it's very easy, or it was very easy to then, become a bitch in a sense. And on paper, you definitely don't feel like it. And you definitely don't see it. All right.
no.
And I can remember when I first started to address the balance. There was a period where it got messier before it got better.
Yeah. Very
but it
typical.
Was worth it. Yeah.
Very typical. And look, guys, I'm not saying, just to be overly clear, maybe I don't have to do this, but I'm not saying you don't help out around the house. You don't do the dishes and things like that. I was upstairs. I cleaned up all the dishes from breakfast this morning, right? I had my headphones in, rocking out, and I do tons of stuff around my house. The difference is the intent, right? The intent and the why you're doing it. And for this particular guy, right, he was doing it because it's, again, nice guy syndrome. This guy is a nice guy, just a great guy. And he found that this deactivation was bleeding over into his work, right? He's like, Doug, you know what I've realized? I'm doing the same thing in business. And this guy is super successful, Tim. He's doing really well, but he was letting business deals, people get away with things that they shouldn't have gotten away with. People, sliding, as you said, when they shouldn't have let things slide. And I would say his courage and his strength was depleted at home. And so it was just as depleted in business. And that started to mirror into his health, right? He started to gain some weight, wasn't very strong, or what we'd say traditional manly. He started to lose that edge that he had. And this happens with a lot of guys when they get deactivated, right? And, this guy went through going through the activation method is a perfect solution for him. So when you look at this situation, what you want to look at here, guys, is, first of all, understand that you've fallen into a trap. It's very common. It's not your fault. It's not your wife's fault either for quote unquote taking advantage of it. She could be doing it subconsciously, right? She could be in a sense of like, hey, I married a man and now I don't have one. Like, how is this guy going to protect me? So now I need to get my needs met. Cool. I don't want to do the dishes. You do the dishes. And the guy does them. So she's like, all right, I don't want to grab the groceries from the car. You go grab them. He does that. And it starts stacking on. She starts bragging to her girlfriends, right, about the things. He becomes the guy that's the gopher, right? They use like, what's a gopher? Go for this, go for that, right? They go get stuff. And the guy becomes that person to her, which is unfortunate. And then he becomes completely deactivated because he's become, emasculated as a man. And there's not a lot of solutions. So what does a guy do? Well, I'm going to step up. I'm going to be the man. I'm going to puff my chest out. I'm going to show her for once and final that I'm the guy, man. And, here's how I'm going to do it. And he does it with his might and his physical strength because he is physically stronger than her. And that just erupts into more problems, right? We talk about the scales, right? The reason a lot of guys have problems in their marriage isn't because of the marriage itself. It's because they're focused on the negative feelings and experiences. And that's what counseling focuses on. When you look at the scales, right, that's been so out of balance that he's trying to get the tip it back to the neutral even, but he's doing it the wrong way because he doesn't know any better. And the puffing out the chest might be a way to do it, but really what it ends up doing is throwing heavy weight onto that negative experience. She's having a horrible experience where she's feeling physically threatened, right? Now, guys, we puff out our chests or what have you. It just happens naturally, right? When you're just like, oh, I'm so frustrated, right? What we're doing there is we're intimidating, right? And we're doing it subconsciously, but you start intimidating your wife who is physically not as strong as you, right? I got to say 99 times out of 100. So then she's scared of you. Now, if she's scared and frightened, what's she going to do? She's going to seek certainty. She's going to seek safety. And not from you, because now you are the threat. And this is where women start turning to other guys. They start turning to friends, maybe her dad if her dad's still alive, et cetera, et cetera. But those negative things, look at that scale again, that balance beam scale is getting tipped in the negative direction, and that's getting more and more solidified.
Yep. And you make a great point about she's not going to turn to you because you're the threat.
Yep. Yeah. We don't think about it because as guys, if another guy puffs his chest up at you, or, I use that as an analogy because I've heard women say that a lot. Oh, look at that guy puffing his chest out. But if you stand up straight and you get into that energy, we let that roll off us quickly as other men, right? So if Tim did that, Tim got aggravated with me and upset, and he and I both get heated, we let it go quickly, right? Diffuses, boom. I'm not scared. Tim's not scared. It's not a big deal. For women, it's a lot different, guys, right? Women are worried about their lives most days. And I know most men have never heard it. If you've ever heard me talk about the story of how I was at a seminar and there were thousands of people there, and the person that was leading the seminar said, hey, look, all the men who have feared for their lives in the past month, stand up. Handful of guys stand up. Last week, right? Most of the guys sit down. How many men have feared for their life in the last, couple days? And there wasn't one guy standing. Did the same thing with women. Almost all the women stood up. How about the last week? Still almost all the women stood up. The last day, still hundreds of women standing up. And we had been at that seminar for 15 hours a day. That means the women feared for their life, either at the seminar we were at, which had security and everything, like this is a personal development thing, or on their way to the hotel the seminar was in, because everybody stayed at the hotel. That's crazy to me, right? As men, we don't have to face that fear, like to that level consistently. Now, if the woman puts you in that category, first of all, you're being her bitch. Second of all, now she's scared of you. You've created so much distance between the two of you, right? This is where the call of getting activated is. And being activated is being an alpha, but it doesn't mean you're threatening anybody. You're just really getting tuned in and turned on to yourself and really getting fired up on who you are as a man. And when you do that, you don't need to be physically intimidating. You can be if there's violence, like someone's threatening your physical life or the physical life of your family, right? But you don't have to be that way in your home, right? Your home's a safe spot for you and your family. You're the protector. So when these guys find themselves in a situation where they're going, you know what? I've been my wife's bitch. What would you suggest they do, Tim?
The first place to start, I'd suggest with is you got to look at yourself. Right? Some guys do it because they're walking through the door and they're just exhausted, right?
Yep.
They don't have any energy left, let's say. So it's just easier to go with it so they can avoid conflict, right? They become a bit of a nice guy. They become passive, don't have an opinion on things, just do things to keep the peace. So the first thing in order to really address the balance here and shift this is they've got to start taking care of themselves. They've got to really look at how they do that. Obviously, we give the guys a live as a king system. It's a really great way, an easy way to do it. And this is where they really start to get reconnected with themselves and shift from deactivated to activated. Because without starting there, you could walk in the home tonight and try and, maintain that firm boundary, but it's going to come from a place of reaction. And that isn't a great place to come from. You're not going to really come from a place of a centered, strong, calm, confident, clear place, which is where you want to come from for this. So that's the first thing you get to do. The second thing after you're doing that is to then be able to start to communicate your boundary, right? Happened with Amelia and I this morning, in fact. She was late for something. She was stressing because she was late. And she went into the bathroom and she's like, why is my towel wet? Like, because you said to use the purple towel to wipe the side of the shower. Well, you should know that. You just went off on one and said, if you used your brain. I'm like, hang on a minute. You're not going to talk to me like that. Do not speak to me like that. I'm out of here. When you're ready to talk calmly, I'll speak to you. But right now, I'm not going to talk to you about this because I'm not going to be spoken to like that. I did it in a calm way. I was, clearly frustrated as well. But I refused to get into an argument with her and get sucked into her drama because I knew what was really going on for her. And I wasn't also going to be allowed to be called. She didn't call me a name directly, but she insinuated, right? If you use your brain, like, what are you trying to say? I'm thick. So I'm just not going to accept it. I think in the past I would have laughed. I would have been like, just gone with it because I can let it wash off. But, boundaries wise, I'm going to let her know that it's not okay to talk to me like that. I'm going to accept it. So, yeah, then you get start to communicate the boundary. I'm not saying you do it in the way I did it just then. Obviously, it's contextual to the situation that you're in and the relationship that you've got and the type of guy you are. But you definitely get to start communicating what is acceptable and unacceptable. In a calm way is important. In a firm, calm way is important. Because like you said, Doug, women often are very fearing for their lives emotionally, kind of subconsciously most of the day. And you're their safe place. So it's very important to do your best to be able to stay connected, even in the time when you're maintaining the boundary, right? And you can stay connected even whilst saying certain things just by your delivery and how you say it and your stance and your facial expression, things like that, which goes back to my initial point of making sure that you're activated and you're full, because then it's easy to do this. Whereas if you deactivate and you're empty, honestly, you're going to find it difficult to drum up the strength to even withstand this. If you're kind of crawling in through the dawn and evening, it's going to be hard. It's going to be very hard. Because at first, when I shifted this, I was, there's a lot that comes at you usually in the early days. So you got to be able to see it and, pass it. Hence the hidden motives technique as well, which is something I use. So I'd go with those three things. Start with yourself, establish the boundary and do it in a way where you stay connected emotionally by how you do it, the intent behind it. And then also on an ongoing basis, you can use the hidden motives technique to really continue to stay connected and continue to maintain the boundary, because it's from this place that you're going to get respect and admiration, not based on your bonus check, not based on how much money you make. Sure, that can help, but it's really because of the man you are and what you stand for that you're going to get the respect and the admiration.
And that's exactly right. I mean, guys, when you're setting your boundaries, it's not a stomp your foot, set your boundaries, but it's a soft line in the sand. They're like, no, I'm not going to do this anymore. And you can have a conversation about it. And you could even be open and say, look, things have been tough in the relationship. And I thought doing all these things would make it easier for us. It's not working. And I'm no longer available to run these errands for you and do these things. Right. And then you could just say, this is just not what I'm available for. And it could be a very simple conversation like that. And like Tim's saying, guys, there's hope there, right? And the reason I say there's hope, because I know a lot of guys that find themselves in this situation feel like they're on their last straw, right? And unfortunately, some guys are looking for a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And guys, no matter what, don't be, we're here for you, right? Suicide's never the answer. For this, it is a temporary issue and it's a solvable problem, right? You've just been deactivated. It's as simple as that. It's like activating something. We just need to activate you, and it's not that big of a deal. And it's awesome on the other side. I can tell you, because we've worked with so many guys, that have had this as an issue. So it's, the no more Mr. Nice Guy syndrome, essentially, right? This is where you get to draw a line in your sand, and somewhat selfish, right? In a good way, but in a way that allows those clear boundaries, in a way that you're leading your family, in a way that provides your family the stability, security, and direction that they desire and deserve. And you're going to feel so friggin' amazing in this space, guys. You're going to love it. You're going to love the man that you'll see there, and it's the man that you already are, right? You've just been caught up. And it happens a lot. Starts with, will you just do this because I have a headache? Or will you, maybe both of you are sitting on the couch, right? Oh, will you go get me a glass of water? Once, twice, sure. But if that's a regular thing, can you go get me a drink when she can get up and get it herself? No. You're being manipulated or you're being tested. There's all kinds of ways this can go. And like I said, every once in a while, yeah, just like I would do it for Tim. Sure, I'll get you one, bro. But after a while, what would you say to your guy friend who kept on asking you, hey, can you go get me another beer? Hey, go get me another beer. You'd be like, dude, get your ass up off the couch and go get your own. It's the same situation, except for now it's your woman who you love dearly. And instead of the beer, it's something else. It's the trash. It's the gifts. It's picking up the kids. When things that she can do herself, and there's no other reason than she's just having you do it because it's easier to have a maid and a servant, right? And it's not what she wants either. She wants you. She wants the man she married, the activated man she married, the man who's turned on, the guy that's ready and tuned in to who he is.
100%.
So, gentlemen, as always, take immediate action when you hear these. Tim and I love putting these together for you. If you guys have any suggestions of what you'd like to hear, head over to the Facebook group. Just search for The Powerful Man. It is a free group that's out there where our coaches are also inside, where we do give some tips and insights in there as well. And there's great dialogue going on. Just do a search. Small application process. It is right now for business owners only, right? That's just who we work with. It's what we're known for. Business owners got certain things going on in your lives that other guys don't have, right? Certain circumstances, the stress of business and managing a family at the same time. So guys, please go over there and let us know what you'd like to hear. Until then, guys, always take action, right? Immediate, massive action, right? That's the key here. If you find yourself in this situation, especially, this is your time to make a decision and make a change. Until then, we'll see you next time on The Powerful Man Show.